Hey, what is going on? Happy whatever day this is. Hope that you're doing well. It's Brandon Hanley here, the voice of a generation, hitting you with some more spiritual dope. I don't have an intro, so I'm just going to go ahead and roll with that one. Finally got done messing around with cleaning up after my chickens here, and I've been waiting to do this podcast for a while. This is one that means a lot to me, and it took a while for it to mean a lot for me, and we'll kind of discuss that as we move forward here. So what I wanted to share with you today is vision, right? The word vision and kind of what it means to have a vision and that kind of thing. And it's super powerful, and I think that we really neglect it quite a bit. And I'm not sure what your familiarity is with the word vision and how it plays out into your life, but I love these two quotes that come to mind. And the first one is by Helen Keller, and it says, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision." And that's just powerful, right? And to be honest with you, when I first heard it, it took a while for it to ricochet in my mind and finally smash something and then make a connection, as it were, kind of like a BB inside the mind. And then this other one is a Japanese proverb: "Vision without action is daydream. Action without vision is nightmare." Ooh, so true, right? So true. And let's just kind of talk back. Let's talk to these two quotes and see what it is that you think about vision. How do you think about vision? Do you think about vision? And as I was putting this one together, I had to look some definitions up, and we're going to talk through those definitions, and we're going to see how they sit with you. How do they sit with you? So the simplest definition is the ability to think about or plan for the future with imagination or wisdom. And I love imagination being in there. It's inventiveness, creativity, innovation. And to me, this begs a sub-question. How do you think about your future? Do you think about your future based on known events of the past, as though on a trajectory into the future? As though the past is the groundswell that's carrying you to your future? And then, of course, I've got to say, do you see wisdom in that, right? Do you see wisdom in that? That is the soundness of action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. I would say, yeah, you could see some wisdom in living that way, because you're gonna translate some of your experiences in there. So there's definitely some wisdom if you do it in that way. But I also ask, is there creativity? Is there innovation? Is there inventiveness in that? Because really, if you're basing everything kind of on your past, then how will you know what your future is, right? So you've got to think more about kind of what you want to have happen to you, because a vision basically is something that has never happened, right? Is a vision something that you would like to see happen? And listen, I guess you could have a vision that isn't something great that you want to have happen, but typically a vision is something good, right? Fanciful, or it's never happened in your life before. And so when you look at some of the visionaries throughout time, did they perpetuate the past? Or, and I think I heard this idea the first time from Neville Goddard, did they call forth a vision, right? And yet we get to another definition of vision now, and that's a vivid mental image, underlying vivid mental image, especially a fanciful one of the future, a dream, a conceptualization. Clearly, this is something that does not exist in the world today, but were you to have a vision, you would be able to see a mental image of it clearly. And I want to take that a step further and call it a full rendering within your mind, a full setting. Were you to have such a vision, you would summon all of your sensory elements. You would be able to touch. There would be a texture, a smell, a full depth of experience. There would be emotion. And I believe, to me, that vision is propelled by emotion. Visions are granted. I feel like visions are granted, some would say, by God, the universe. There's something that you access that is greater than you have led yourself to believe. That's where visions come from. So where have you seen visionaries in your past, in all of time? And I had a couple of examples pulled out for you today. If you're thinking of the past couple hundred years, you would think of the Wright brothers. And these were bicycle mechanics. Did they have a degree in aeronautics? Were they you can't be an aviator before aviation even exists. Were they even mechanics? And I would say no. They were granted a vision, and they persisted with that vision. They persisted with as if that was something that was guaranteed to them. And I think of the story from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and the story about Henry Ford, the 8-cylinder engine. It was actually the 8-cylinder, the V8, and he had a vision to create something that was cheap and good, a V8 that was cheap and good. There were some that existed already, but they were expensive and they were really, kind of monstrosities. So at some point, so during that time, the cheap and good did not exist, right? And he'd been surrounded by experts and engineers that were saying that it could not be done. And I love this line because he says, at some point, it becomes necessary to disperse with the services of experts. These are people who have found limitations in their field, most likely. And when you find people that hit limitations, they're no longer thinking beyond what they believe to be true, right? If you find somebody that's been in a field for so long, that has been doing what it is they do for so long, they no longer see what is possible beyond what it is that they've seen. So he assembled a team of engineers, far from those naysayers, far from those experts. And as they got to work, the first 6 months, there was nothing. You had frustrated engineers claiming impossible, and he would say, "Go ahead," and he would say, "Stay on the job until you succeed, no matter how much time is required." Right? No matter how much time is required, keep at it, persist. And this happened for yet another year, and with Ford saying, "I want it, and I will have it." And finally, again, this is coming out of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, as if by a stroke of magic, the secret was discovered. His determination and his faith in the vision, in that image that he held in his mind. Right? If we think back to the beginning here, the mental image being held clearly of what was possible. So he called forth the impossible in service to the masses. And why is that important? Why is it important to be in service to the masses? I feel like you're really not going to have a vision granted to you unless what you're trying to do is of service to something greater than your immediate self. And that's, again, this is just my perception of vision and kind of how you can take a look at it. So, another thing to note here is that you don't need to be the person in possession of the know-how. You don't need to know how something will happen in order for it to happen. Just like, hey, this was Henry Ford, and he tasked his engineers and his team with something that he felt could happen. And then I'd like you to consider for a moment, right? Do you know how to grow your hair, right? But it happens. Do you know how to create the white blood cells in your body to fight illness? Yet you're creating it. Do you really even know, right? Do you even know how it is that you are alive? And when you stop for a moment and think about all the things that you don't know how specifically are happening, but are happening for you every day, then is it possible for something to happen for you that you hold in a vision without knowing how it will happen? Is it possible? And if there's that possibility, then you have to consider, hey, then it is possible that something could happen for me without knowing how it's going to happen. So then vision doesn't require greatness. I don't think outside of you. I believe that it requires and comes from the greatness within you. And I think that this is what you live for. This is what calls to you. In the hero's journey, the vision is the call of the hero. And I think that you'll have many visions, right? And this is it. The vision without action is a daydream. That's the Japanese proverb. And then when you answer that, you take action on it, right? You take action. And when you answer that, you'll accept what's already been granted. The strength and the grace that to carry out your vision. And you've already got this within you. It's just, how do you want to apply it in your life? How do you want to apply it? And we think of other stories that have been out there, other great visionaries. You have Tesla and his love of electricity. And they used to say to him, about him, he would have a vision without even going without going through so many gyrations. He would see it once and create it, and it would work just as he had seen it so clearly in his mind. And then you had Steve Jobs with the iPhone. He just kept at it, and he believed that it could happen. And then you've got Elon Musk doing whatever it is that he's doing, but there's something different about his approach. There's something different with how he's going after these things. And, I think that it could just as easily be you, now that you kind of understand fully, how a vision could be applied. And I think that once you have a vision, you're calling forth the future, and that is something that you can do every day. And that is something that when you wake up, that is something that pulls you and calls you, and you're taking action, and it's just such a emotional void filler, I would say. And it's not a overarching ambition for great wealth just to have this great wealth. There's something in there that to me is so powerful. And then even on the back end of this, action without vision is nightmare. To do all that you do without a vision, to me, seems hollow, right? Without a vision, hollow action. What is your action for? Why are you doing what it is that you do? And when you're called forth in the vision, then I think that it's super powerful for you. So hey, listen, roll it over in your own mind, see how you feel about it, and consider creating a vision for yourself and seeing what that feels like, versus a plan, versus a dream, versus any of these other words there, versus a goal. And see if it doesn't make you quite literally resonate at a different vibration. And if it does, that's cool. If it doesn't, that's cool too. Call it what you want. This is what it does for me, and that's really what I'm here to share with you. That is my spiritual dope, right? That's my hit. And when I think of a vision, I feel like that is granted, and I feel like there's divinity, and I feel like there's strength, and I feel like there's hope, and I feel like there's all those just powerful, innately gifted things within it, right? To me, I think that's powerful, and that's something that I wake up for every day. And I think that, hey, listen, if you're digging what you're hearing here today, I would just appreciate hearing from you, and say, hey, Brandon at spiritualdope.co, appreciate what you're putting out there, and I would love it if you head on over to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating if you love it, a 1-star rating if you hate it. Don't leave anything in between. I don't want to live for mediocrity. And let's keep it rolling. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you